a couple on a wonderful movie called Follow That Dream that Elvis did in the summer of 1961. And today we have two guests that actually were in roles with Elvis in that movie, and it is Robin and Gavin Koon. And we welcome you to the Always Elvis studio.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Gentlemen. It's afternoon for you guys because you both are in the wonderful state of California.
Correct.
But you're not in the same place, obviously.
Gavin's in Southern California near Hollywood, and I'm up in the wine district called Sonoma, which is wine next to Napa.
So, well, the brothers get to connect this afternoon and this evening here with us. Welcome to our studio and this week, to have you guys here and share a little bit more about this great movie that was done in the summer of '61, but released the following year. And that all took place in the state of Florida, right? Were you actors before this opportunity that with Follow That Dream, or give us a little background on how you made it to be on Follow That Dream?
I'm going to let Gavin answer this one.
Okay, right, I'll do part of it, and then Robin can jump in with any missing parts because
wonderful.
We seem to tune in on this stuff.
Okay.
Real acting experience, any movies or roles? No, we hadn't done anything prior to that. We did things afterwards. But prior, the only kind of things, since my father was an art director doing Lawrence Welk Show for 27 years, whenever they needed kids on the merry-go-round for Christmas or whatever, we always were thrown in the lurch, that kind of thing. But not a lot of acting. My parents did some. They were into puppets. They do some puppet shows when we were very young as well on the side, and sometimes we'd be called in to do stuff with that. But other than that, there wasn't that much. Afterwards, we did do a couple other things. And Rob, why don't you describe the few TV roles we did afterwards?
Yeah, we, as a result of the movie, we did get an agent and got our SAG cards, which is a big deal. And we did do, there was a show in the 70s called Julia with a black actress who played a nurse, Diane Carroll. And we did one of those shows. We also did one of the pilot shows called Valentine's Day with Tony Franciosis, which is similar to the Name of the Game that came on a few years later. It was very popular after that. But he was a publisher, and we played one of those episodes. And in that particular, when we did that show, my younger brother followed us into the interview. They took all three of us, so he got included. So we like to tease him about being a tag-along.
Okay, so there's another Koon brother in the mix here.
Exactly. And so we'd also were runner-ups for Please Don't Eat the Daisies. We had interviewed for that. We almost got us. We were very close to getting it, but we didn't get it. And I think I got them all, right? And we also, like Gavin said, were extras as children in the Lawrence Welk Show. Our dad being the art director, every Christmas he'd have a Christmas show with all the kids, and we'd be in the background. We weren't featured or anything.
Right. So did this mostly happen after the movie then?
Yeah,
or
all after the movie, correct.
All after the movie. Okay.
Yeah. The way we got picked for the movie was interesting because a lot of my parents' friends were behind the scene people, directors, camera and lighting, all that. And somebody called them and said, hey, they're having an interview for twins. So twin boys.
Audition. Interview.
Right. The interviews, correct. And so my mom said, okay. So she took us down to the interview, and it's quite an experience because it took us into a room that was filled with boys our age or all twins. And you can imagine a waiting room filled with 50, 60 boys, twin boys running around, bouncing off the wall. It was insane. And they interviewed every one of us, every set. And at the end of the day, they told us, you're it. So that's how we got it. It was a cold call, basically.
Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome. So then how much before production of the movie did this take place, this auditioning and whatnot?
I think
4 or 5 months, because I remember the last few months before we traveled, we had to grow our hair out because they wanted shaggy, long hair.
Okay.
Kind of pre-hippie back in '61. And it was kind of weird because we were being in grade school. and all our friends and everybody had the Astro buzz cut. That was the cool thing, like the astronauts. And we were the only ones with our hair all growing out and ragged, you know. So it was kind of we got rattled, they were razzed a bit by our friends. Yeah,
The question is, did you get a cut right after the movie?
Yeah.
and I'm pretty sure my mother took care of that. Yeah.
Right. I'm going to bring up a photo here of the cast. There you are with Elvis and the Quimpers, basically, and Gavin, you played Eddie, and Robin played Teddy.
Correct.
So
I'm on the right. I'm on the right. Robin's on the left.
Right.
Robin's on the right, and you're on the
no,
left.
I'm on the right. Eddie, I'm on the right.
Yeah.
Next to Elvis,
Gavin's
and
on the right.
the other one.
Yeah.
And Robin's on the left. Correct.
So that probably happens with the twins. Which one is it?
Quite often.
So when you're going in there, did Elvis know which one was you, or did the cast or anybody like which one are you, Gavin, Robin, or they kind of knew that?
We sort of get lumped the twins. That's just it.
Right,
the twins are here. Or that's a twin. I mean, it's very common, because it's very hard to tell us apart at that age.
Right.
So we were just sort of the twins. So
I mean, really, only our siblings are really close friends. So you're just always, we were used to it by then. We just called you a twin, one of the twins. We're just used to it.
Right. Well, I'm going to go through a few still photos that were taken, and whereabouts were these taken, gentlemen?
This was taken after the film was shot. They had a one-day photo shoot in a professional studio. Actually, it was on La Cienega Boulevard in Hollywood.
Right.
And they had us all come in, and they shot a bunch of stills. And you can sort of tell because the background is solid white. Right. There's a wall, sort of a wall behind us that's all white. And they took a variety of stills in different positions and stuff. Exactly these pictures here. And because it's all white, you already know it's a studio shot. It was done deliberately. Right. These were done to help promote the film in a variety of films. The interesting thing is that the entire cast is the original cast, with the exception of one person, and that's the little girl Ariadne. And they were actually a set of twins, and they lived in Inverness, and they were in the movie locally. I think there were like 5 at the time or something. They didn't fly them to California to shoot the pictures here. So this is a different girl altogether that's in the photo. Right.
Interesting. Yeah. I didn't pick that out till you mentioned that. So
and they didn't use these photos directly either. They were if you look at the movie marquees, some of them have the car, because we also shot with the car in the studio shots.
Right.
That was really the only major prop, but they used that for the purposes of the artists to make these, because they were all basically artwork pieces, not actual photo like these. So these were used for that reference purpose.
Right. Yeah. Some of the lobby shots were used from these.
Pre-computer.
Pre-computer, right? And the album Follow That Dream has a couple different versions, and one version has a picture of the cast and one doesn't. So all those different nuances. So the next still here looks like they brought your vehicle along.
I think this is a look-alike vehicle, if I'm correct. Okay. I don't think it's the exact one, because you'd have to compare it against the movie to really compare it. But it was very similar, just a jalopy that opened like that. Right. And one of these shots, there's a couple more of them, was what they used for the lobby poster, was directly from this. Okay. But this is again in the studio.
So this was again post movie.
Right.
They went so guys couldn't get your haircuts quite yet, right? You have to wait a little bit. And
this is the same time frame that after they shot the movie, we had to go into the studio, into the recording booth, and re-record some of our lines. And the reason, and so did the other actors. Right. And the reason for that is it seems like at the time we were in Florida, about 4 o'clock, 3:30, 4 o'clock every day, there were thunderstorms in the background.
Oh no!
You'd hear a boom or a crack or this, and once in a while, a little bit of rain. They'd stop for a few minutes and go away. But because of the noise, we had to re-record the lines. And it was tough for us because we were supposed to look at the screen and say the same words in the same way. And to us, it was very foreign to do something like that. So after a couple tries, we got the hang of it. And so then they had us do that.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
a little
go
more.
ahead.
Go ahead, Gavin.
I was going to say my favorite story in the car, because reminded me of it. We were in Florida, and Robin's heard this story many times. You know, everybody on the set always have fun with each other. You know, so it's a family environment. And so we saw them pouring gasoline in the car, but it was orange. I'm sure it's some grade of gas back then. It was orange colored pouring in, and I'd never seen, neither one of us had ever seen anything like it. So we're looking at this orange stuff, and wow, you know, look at this. And the grips told us they're putting orange juice in the car. They ran on orange juice. And we absolutely hook, line, sinker believed it. So we're running around the set telling everybody, can you believe this car runs on orange juice? It's amazing, you know? Yeah. It wasn't until later we figured, but you know, you're gullible at that age, you know? And
Right.
Honestly, when they're shooting, they had one camera, not multiple cameras. So after they shoot one shot, they'd have to reposition. And so there's downtime between that. That's when they had the stand-ins come in and do all that stuff. Okay. And so being little kids running around, we tormented the grips on the set, you know, asking questions and this and that. And this is their sort of way of getting back at us. I think
Tricking it into the orange juice.
We'll fix them. We'll convince them it's orange juice, because we went around, you know, all smug that we knew what cars ran on orange juice.
We had the secret. Right?
You talked about going back to do, I guess, the overdubs or the retakes of the audio because of the storm. Did you find that, was it hard to get in character based on that, or
no, not so much, but just making sure your lips match that on the screen. Because if you're off a little bit, then it doesn't look right, and the dubbing is right.
Yeah, the lip syncing is tough. It's tough.
So you guys were already lip syncing back in '61.
Yep, just parts of it, not the whole film. Just certain, mainly on the outdoor scenes, like in the car or things like that. Those were overdubbed. A lot of those.
Right. So the next ones here is some stills. Obviously, you're riding Mr. Presley's back.
And these are two of our favorite pictures. I mean, honestly, how many people can say they rode piggyback and Elvis Presley's back? I mean, how many people can say that?
Not too many. I think you guys might be the two.
And in the right hand picture where we're holding his hand, that was, to me, that's very endearing. That's a great picture. He was a wonderful person. I mean, Gavin and I have talked about this before, that, you know, adults and children, we were 8, and kids sort of look at adults that you're kid friendly or not. You know, they know right away. And you get the vibe from, there are some people on the set, a couple of actors, we knew they were not kid people, sort of, you naturally know to stay away from them. Right. But he was very, very kid friendly. And so we got along great with him. He's very warm with us, never made us feel like, you know, go away little kid or anything like that. He was extremely fun.
He played jokes on us, actually.
Oh, yeah.
So your first meeting, do you have a recollection of your first meeting? There was a question there. What was your first? Obviously, you gave your impression that he was very endearing, but do you remember where you were when you first saw him?
I think it was on the set. There's a portion of the movie got deleted from them, which is in the book. There actually is a paperback book of the movie that was done after the movie, and in it there's a beginning section where we're on our original house where we all grew up, and we left that house and went to Florida. So the scene started at that old house and we left, and they deleted that and just had us on the road when the film opens. And that's where we met him. And it's very interesting because we went back years later on an Elvis tour to they have in Florida, where they go take you to the sites where they shot Follow That Dream. And one of them is this house. It's called the We All House. And We All means it's everyone. We all come here together. It's like a family meeting place. And it was very interesting. I mean, being there, I can remember the house has been remodeled slightly, and we remembered we had to be under the steps, and those steps are gone. They're all concrete now. And so it's sort of, you know, memories come back when you see things like that.
Well, as a matter of fact, one of the pictures you probably shows us being in, like, getting with a costume with a sign front, you know, a picture for the set. It'll come up and I'll point it out. That was shot at that We All House.
We All House, right?
And that was the first time we'd actually, the entire crew, and that's it right there.
It.
Yeah, and there might be another shot or two. There's a few floating around.
Right.
But that was the first time the entire cast and crew got together. The first time we actually met in Florida, because we all came separately at different times and we all showed up.
Right.
So that really was it, and that's where everything kicked off.
Members asking, when did you learn that he was a twin as well? Were you older when told the situation? I imagine. I'm not
Years
sure.
later. Yeah, much older.
At 8 years old, we weren't really fully aware of the history and all that. I mean, Robin, I'm sure we'll talk about more. We weren't even aware that how famous he was. He was just,
Right.
to us, he was just another guy on the set having fun with it. I mean, obviously knew he was a star and he's somebody, but not to the magnitude by any means. And when we were on the set, he was just like big brother with us.
Mhm.
We had a great time. So the magnitude of that was much later. Much later.
Yeah, when on the set on the we were in Florida, it was pretty much segregated. There was a lot. People weren't allowed to come into the set, so it was just the people working it were there, no one else. So we didn't see a lot of fans coming in. Also, where we stayed was at a resort called Port Paradise, and they'd taken over the whole resort. So the entire resort was filled with just the movie, camera and so on, all the people related to the movie and the actors. And so that's all we saw there. And so the first time we really probably got sort of shell shocked was at the end of the movie. There's the finale is shot in a courthouse, and that courthouse is still in Inverness.
Mhm.
And it was restored from using the movie to restore the courthouse, because years later they modernized it. Then they want to bring it back to its original state, and that's sort of cool. And when we were shooting in there, every day they would take us out to lunch off site. So we would come out the doors to go down to there's a little walkway to get from the door of the building to the car street and get in the car, and it was packed with people. And we just seen these mobs of people out there, and it just blew us away. We just were not prepared for that, because what is going on here? What are all these people doing here? I mean, what, my autograph?
Especially when it was like 100 degrees, 100-degree humidity. It was amazingly warm down there.
And we were at that point, I think it's probably when it really hit us. That all these people were there.
What was going on?
Yeah.
Anne Helm, did you have much interaction with Anne?
During the film, not as much. We did become really close to Anne after the filming. But years later, I think it was 1990. It was
2001 when Graceland first brought us back.
When we first went down to Graceland.
Yeah, and then we all were all together back again.
And we met Annie there, and we became good friends. And so we've been in touch over the years. Yeah.
That's wonderful. Yeah, it was a great connection there. Kind of showed the audience that the vehicle appeared to be towed by another vehicle. Like, you guys weren't actually driving, because they obviously had to have cameras in front of you.
Correct.
So what was that like? I guess you're outside in the Florida heat. Did they keep it in a certain small area where you drove all the time? Or how did that work out?
Well, they had pre-selected whatever route they were doing for that particular scene. So, they would just start, and then the director would say action, and we'd shoot the scene. So, sometimes several times we would do it. They had different spots. I mean, I remember the very beginning where the car stops and we run out, Gavin and I run out to use the restroom, right? And we're coming back. And I think the director asked Gavin to
he did. I was too embarrassed. I was a little kid, too embarrassed.
He couldn't do it.
Our zipper was down and the underwear showing, and I was too embarrassed. So Robin did it.
So I had to do it.
Stop, turn around, zips up,
right.
Zipper, and then run to the car.
So Robin's the zipper.
That's me who turns around and it's the first.
Yeah, I remember that outhouse was just a little shed, nothing in it. It's supposed to look like an outhouse. They just stuck it there, to prop, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I like is the earlier shot you shown with the car where Elvis lifts the car with his back. That was when they had a giant metal bar and a crane, behind the scenes, so you couldn't see it. But and we're supposed to look over a maze. That was kind of fun. We were in the car lifting it up. That was kind of cool.
So you kind of thought, Elvis was stronger. That thing was really light. But yeah, I'm sure he had some help, right?
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Enjoying your candy bar trick. We're going to just show a little bit of that, and people can kind of guess here and see which of the Koon brothers at the beginning of the movie got the better end of the chocolate bar. All right, giving it away. Let's check it out.
He finally wised up. Took Robin the whole movie to wise up.
No, he ain't stopping the car again.
We don't want to stop. We want to know are we good boys?
Yeah, you're good boys. All right, Toby, give him a piece of candy.
Thank you.
That's me.
So that's Gavin getting the bigger piece.
It ain't even. I know. Now it is. Yeah. Thanks. You're welcome.
How many scenes did that take to shoot?
Oh my God.
Well, let me put it this way. To this day, neither one of us can eat Butterfingers. We went through cases because they couldn't get them to break right. They had to score them because trust me, try breaking one and see if it consistently breaks unevenly.
He
Right.
break it even. That didn't work. You have to shoot it.
Right,
again.
right. We had to reshoot it.
Right.
I think
So
we went the whole case of Butterfingers. I think.
Well,
I know.
I was curious if you were, doing that on purpose, so you'd have to do a retake because you liked the candy bar, or just after a while,
No.
To this day, I'm not a real fan. After
No.
too many of them, you get a little.
A
No.
couple of interesting things is that once Gavin did the very first one, which is what you just saw, whenever you see the candy broken again, it's always him who got the bigger piece. Always.
That's right,
Yeah,
and well deserved on my dad.
Oh,
I'll leave it at that.
Well,
It never missed me.
let's go through this. This is a perfect segue, Robin. We'll go through this real quick.
But it is interesting. In the script for the movie, that scene was never in the movie. Where we break the candy bar,
Right.
and the director had come up with the idea of adding this as some humor, and so he added it to the film, which is really sort of cool.
He stuck it in at the end. Yeah.
Right.
And
this
here's another one here.
This is the second scene, so I guess
Of course I am.
Gavin gets the bigger piece again, right?
Yep. Rightfully so.
And have a real fishing place.
You see, I'm really thrilled. Yeah.
Busted a bubble, honey.
Hey, you're patient.
I've been asking around.
But the funny thing there
Borrow the money for
in
the
that scene is that
Never sure changed my opinion.
you'll
about
see some
banks.
close-up later when he's
You
doing
need to
the
lend me money
singing.
just for the ass.
They painted the chocolate on our lips and around our mouths.
Oh,
Looked
wow.
like we'd eaten the chocolate because they wanted to look like we'd eaten the chocolate bar later.
Right.
Because he does that singing scene where we're clapping, and I thought that was really weird because they make it people coming over paying chocolate mugs in mouth. I thought that was really weird, but that's what
During
it was.
that, in a few minutes, Elvis actually sings a song, and we were supposed to snap our fingers, along with the movie,
Mhm.
and we couldn't snap our fingers.
Oh,
8
no.
years old, we just didn't have it.
A
Didn't have
couple
it.
of photos where the director was trying to show it. Even Elvis came over to try and show us how to do it, and they just said, just clap your hands. Just clap your hands.
Clap
And
your
that's
hands.
what we wound up doing. You'll see us in the film clapping our hands because we couldn't snap our fingers.
Right, if anybody seen the movie would know it. But the one thing I gotta say on those singing scenes, Elvis didn't lip sync. He actually sang along with it because they play the music on big speakers, and
Okay.
most of it's lip singing, typical. But he actually would sing right along with it. It was great. So he was just singing along with the part, and it was just awesome. It was really awesome to be there and have him singing singing to us in the hall in the room. It was fun.
Right. So was it just music background and then his vocals, or
No,
he
the
was
whole
lip-syncing to
music
the
was
vocals?
already recorded.
Sure.
But when they play it back, he didn't mouth the words. He actually sang them along with the recording.
Oh,
So
great.
if you were in the room, you'd hear the speakers and you'd hear him both, at the same. So he actually sang it with it, which is sort of cool.
So getting back to the chocolate, because we got one more scene to show on that. You had mentioned Butterfingers, and somebody questioned, is that what kind of chocolate bar it was, or what was it?
Yeah, Butterfingers. Yep.
Okay.
Peanut
Oh,
butter.
believe me,
You know,
I can spot one a mile away now.
all right, let's see what this last scene. Let's see what happens
These
differently
people
here.
set their own interests above those of 6 million taxpayers. When I try to persuade the Quimpers to abandon their anti-social point of view, I receive
Somebody
nothing
finally
but
got
abuse.
smart.
You got it.
Course of which, the elder Quimper boasts
I love the
that he
expression on the right.
habitually received relief funds. as
Gavin's
well
like,
as
"Hey,
aid to
this isn't
defend
how it's supposed to be."
I later learned that Toby Quimper
Is this in the
served
script?
in the army.
No, it wasn't.
The doctors
No, no.
in awarding him a total disability allowance.
That man there is Alan Hewitt, who played the chief of the highways, and Alan became really close friends with our family and remained.
Wow.
And he used to live in New York and in Hollywood. And
Okay.
whenever he was in Hollywood, we'd see him. He'd come over and visit, and we spent time with him. He's a wonderful person, a really warm person. He also played Detective Brown. Was it Detective Brown or
Yeah, Detective Brown, My Favorite Martian. Right?
Martian? Right.
Wow.
There's a TV series that was very popular.
So, got another still photo I want to bring up and see if you guys can shed some light. It's a little on the small side.
That was done in Florida on the set in Florida on the outside, and that's why you see people are dressed pretty for summerly. Why? Because it was hot, and that was just all. It was just sitting on the Puerto Rico group shot. That's obviously the Colonel.
On the far left.
Yeah, and I can't tell which twin is which, but one of us is on next to the Colonel, and then there's a woman. I don't know who she is. My brother Robin, and then I'm trying to remember the one above.
Joanne Moore.
Joanne Moore. Yeah.
Okay.
She's Tatum O'Neal's mother.
Right.
Yeah.
She played Elisa Claypool in the movie. She was
right.
the welfare lady. And then there's two people there. I don't know who they are. And then there's Elvis.
Right.
And then Arthur O'Connell's on the top. Yep.
How was Arthur?
He was great.
Wonderful.
Right.
We actually got to visit with him when we were about 3 years after the movie, through a mutual friend who knew him. He invited us to his house in Beverly Hills to have lunch.
Oh,
And it was really like a sort sit down in his dining room, have a formal lunch. And he was so warm and so thrilled to see us and asked how everything was going. And it was really rather unique. It was a very special thing for somebody to remember you and have lunch with him.
Yeah, he's really just a sweetheart, genuine sweetheart.
Great. And he was also in another movie with Elvis as well, Kissing Cousins, right? So
yeah, but he's very much a down to earth person. I mean, if anybody walked up to him, he'd just chat with you. He was not. I think most of the actors on that were that way. You could talk to anybody. There's not a lot of egos, or you can't talk to me, or it was very much that. Oh, here's the scene. That's the photo on the left there, where the director, right, who's wearing the hat, right.
He's trying to teach you
trying to teach me to snap my fingers.
It didn't work. It didn't work.
And even Elvis had come over. That's what Elvis trying to help teach us to snap our fingers.
Snap your fingers. The actual set here is not in the house. That's by the bridge and by the river, correct?
Correct. All the indoor scenes of the house were shot in Hollywood at MGM.
Okay.
That's where they were all shot. All the exteriors were shot in Florida. So, anytime you see us inside the house for whatever scene, it was in Hollywood.
Right.
Yeah, and the trailer interiors was shot at the high school in Florida. Where the gambling, because those weren't done indoors.
Right.
And the bank scene is on there.
Right.
But all the house scenes were done in. Because I remember the set where he sings to her at the very closing of the movie. That's all on the set in Hollywood.
Okay. And then, but there was, some of the scenes were in this was the old high school where.
Right. We didn't go there.
You didn't go there, because none of the scenes were there, but that was the scenes when they go into what looked like the trailer.
Correct.
And we had talked about. So there's another scene. Let's see if the fans can figure out who's got what's my line, I guess we'll call it. Let's see what this next one does for us. Let's see if we can get it to work.
Only federal. When we called the FBI and asked them to help us get some sleep, they got right snippy. You know, we ought to elect our own sheriff.
Could we have our own sheriff?
Well, you might at that. If you got all your neighbors together and elected one, the state might grant you a city charter. Of course, it'd be a mighty small city, but then there have been smaller ones. I'll have my lawyers check into it. What was that?
Somebody made Nate the hard way.
Now,
So
that's Robin on the right, me on the left.
Correct.
So was that pretend food cereal? What was that?
You know, I'll give the story on that because I have fond memories of this one really well.
Okay.
We shot this in the late morning in the studio, and we must have did a period of different shots because there was longer. This is a much longer scene from different angles, and they repeat it from different angles.
Okay.
And so we were being diligent little kids, told to eat your oatmeal. You eat your oatmeal. How many bowls of oatmeal can a little kid eat? You'll notice in this scene we're eating pretty slow because by then we'd eaten like 3 or 4 bowls of oatmeal. And you're like, oh, it's a full of oatmeal, but you gotta look like you're eating. So and the worst part is after we finished this, they say lunch. They called for lunch, and we were stuffed with oatmeal. We weren't even hungry for lunch. It was like we didn't get to have hamburgers, hot dogs, whatever for lunch. We were stuffed with oatmeal. Very funny.
Well, this next scene, I think you guys could have enjoyed. So give us some insight on this one when it comes up.
Evening, folks.
Hello, Tube.
How's the fish?
Good, good.
Don't make no move, Nick. Look what he got.
Yeah, I see it, I see it.
What kind of guns that you got there, son? Well, just a little burp gun, Pop.
What will those kids take to lay off that stuff?
All right, kids, quit it. You're getting the dock all bloody and everything. Nick.
So who was getting shot first? And
Gavin's the one at the foreground. I think I'm the one in the back.
Right. You go down first.
I was down.
you went down first, you lost the battle, huh?
Yep. This was an interesting scene because it was shot during the daylight, and the reason it looks dark is has a filter on the camera, so it looks sort of nighttime, but it's actually was daylight. And during the shooting of the scene, the director, when he's showing us, I want you stand here, do this. He sort of, because this again wasn't in the script, he decided he wanted this in there, so he sort of pantomiming us, showing us what to do. So we got it, and then he backs up, and he backs up again, and he went off the back of the dock into the water, and. And he's a good man. I mean, directors are chief on the set, and of course, when he went in, I think the crew sort of secretly all cheered, because it got a huge laugh.
Mm-hmm. So was there a lot of that, Robin, where they, obviously as an 8-year-old, you read a script, that was all new to you guys, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Every night before whatever we were shooting, we'd go over the lines to make sure we were comfortable with them. Not just to memorize them, but we say them naturally and you're comfortable. But we didn't have a huge amount of lines. There's some stuff in the film that we were supposed to do that we didn't do. For example, there's a portion where the welfare worker, Alicia Claypool, gets pushed into the lake, into the water. When she's too close to Elvis. Mm-hmm. And we were supposed to push her in, and we're all ready to do it. We learned our lines, and the last minute, the director just changed his mind and decided to have, Anne Helm push her in the water.
Oh,
the other female.
Did not know that.
Push her in. And so we were supposed to do it. Yeah. And so I sort of wondered what that scene would have been like if we did get to push her in,
Right. Pushing somebody in the water could have been fun, possibly, right?
Yeah, it could have been. Yeah, for an 8-year-old, it would have been great.
Yeah. So there you guys. How long would this scene have taken? Do you recall?
Shooting this?
Mm-hmm.
This scene probably just an afternoon.
Okay.
Yeah, this went pretty quick. Yeah.
Yeah.
The camera was on a boat. That's what it was. They had a barge right off the dock, and the camera was posted on that, and that's why they're shooting into them toward the land from the water.
Oh, okay.
They weren't shooting on the dock. All this was shot from there.
Like that shot, right?
Right. So they're shooting from the water in.
Right on a bar right next to the shooting straight in. The explosion was the exciting part when they blew up the trailer. That was fun because that was a real explosion.
Was it?
Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, it wasn't faked. You know, those days we didn't really have CGI and all that stuff, so they really had to do a big boom. You know.
Mhm. The last scene that you talked about was the courthouse, and if people go back to visit in Florida, they can actually go visit. This is the restoration, right?
Right. They restored the courthouse. I guess he had lowered the ceilings and altered the whole appearance, and I guess it became a historic courthouse. My understanding is they do one court room with the judge there once a year to keep it on the books, but actually it's more of a museum. And they got historical courthouse and museum, and they have different exhibits going through. But on the second floor, there is a TV screen, and they'll play this final scene of the movie on that screen and show people how they restored the courthouse through that using the movie.
Okay. Yeah, I did hear that, you know, and they basically had to go to the movie, like you talked about, the movie company to look at the film footage to do the restoration of the courthourthouse. Talked about.
And that's the We All House. Yep.
If you look at the photo, below us is stairs that you can see through them. They're steps.
Mm-hmm.
Then when we went back to visit it, those stairs have been replaced by concrete steps. So you can't. We actually in the movie we were underneath those steps in the beginning scene, and he spoke to us through there, and we came out. We crawled out of there. So that's how it started. The movie originally started. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's why I remember that very much. We had to crawl under the house there. That was sort of different.
What's so unfortunate, you know, the movie was filmed, you know, 60 years ago. It's amazing. And, you know, today you can get movies with the editor's cut and all this kind of stuff. And did you guys ever get to see any of this footage?
No. It basically left on the cut. When they edited the movie, whatever they didn't use, they didn't keep it. So it's gone.
It's not like today where they keep everything for, you know, other uses. Back at that time, it was just you know, considered garbage. It's gone. Mm-hmm. It's just gone.
Yeah, it looks like.
But yeah, that's another scene from there. Yeah.
Right.
But I love the term "We All House" because there's a whole series of houses around this one house that's owned by this greater family, and this is a jointly owned house. So they call it the We All House because it's all of our we, meaning WE, all. It's all our houses. I thought it was an interesting way to call a house. But they share that house. It's all shared for family functions and things.
Right.
It's kind of an interesting way to look at it.
Yeah, this is. Yeah, so, do you recall what the gist of the scene was? You had talked about, I think it was Robin, I'm not sure. You'd mentioned that this was your home that you were leaving to go on this journey on.
Right. The trip was originally supposed to be like a vacation. And you can see in the movie when our car breaks down, it changes from being a vacation that we're going to stay at this new location.
Sure.
And that's sort of the point. But before then, this was our home. We supposed to live here. And so the beginning portion was supposed to show us that transition by showing us at our original house and then how we transitioned to move. And I guess they felt for the length of the movie and stuff that wasn't necessary for the story. So they eliminated it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and there were some inside shots done with Anhelm and Arthur and Elvis. There are more to it than just a few exterior shots. There's a little bit more to it, but they just jettisoned the whole thing, probably for the movie length. And I think they decided, just given the type of movie, it wasn't necessary to put that kind of character development in the movie line. So
they had a scene, for example, with the postman, him showing up with the mail, and that was sort of like he was telling the postman we're going on vacation. So you understood that we were leaving for a while.
Right.
So.
Yeah. We talked about it. They basically had to clear and bring sand in, right?
Yeah, it's fake. Yeah, it's real sand, but they just poured it on top. Right.
We figured that out rather quickly, honestly, because no one had told us they had done that. We just thought that's the way it was. And we were playing around and we dug down. And once you dug about this far down through the sand, it was pitch black
dirt. Yeah, black dirt.
that's really odd. It's not sand all the way like a beach would be all the way down. So then we figured out, oh, this is put there on purpose to make it look like a sandy beach.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they get away with doing that now. Environmentally, probably not. Because when we went back, that whole area is all grown in now, heavily wooded and treed, and you can't really see any of the sand. It just looks like it went back.
It's all gone. It's been washed away.
Right. Yeah.
It's back to normal state. But they cleared it. They cleared the whole land, just bulldozed it flat and put sand all over it. You know.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you can get away with that today. Robin's right.
Yeah, it's in retrospect, especially for the local people in the Florida area that had Elvis there and being there, it is a tourist thing now. People go see the courthouse and people go see where all these different scenes are because other than some Hawaii movies, Elvis really didn't, King Creole early on, Florida really had a lot of dynamics to different scenes. Where people could actually see Elvis doing a movie, right? So
yeah, it was. Yeah, I think you're right about that. It's interesting when we'd been back to Graceland a few times, and we met with some of the people who worked with Elvis when he at Graceland. I mean, they were there when he was living there, and they had told us that they felt that this film was the closest in his mannerisms to who he really was. And that was really surprising because in this film, he's very relaxed. He doesn't doing a lot. He's not doing dance numbers. He does sing, of course, but it's more of a relaxed, having fun. Sort of some dumb jokes, which was fun, which is clean fun. And I thought that was interesting. I hadn't realized that. And if you look at some of his other movies, there's quite a bit of dancing and a lot of activity. This is not different for him.
Yeah, it's still more of an acting role, right?
Right.
And I would say even offset with him, his character was more like him, even offset. Just he had incredible Southern manners, with everybody. So in it, but he was like that, and very similar to what was on cameras. I think to a certain extent how he was in person. I mean, obviously he played a little more country bumpkin a little bit, but he's not. But that gentleness or that kindness was very much there.
So obviously there you talked about they film a little bit, they got to move a camera, so there's waiting time.
Right.
Your guys are 8 years old, right? You kind of want to play. What did they do with you guys when you had this off time?
As long as we weren't in the way of the camera, we would be on the peripheral side of the set, and we'd do different things. Gavin, that story of the rocket, his perfect example.
But one of my favorite, and you can talk about the strongman. I love the strongman story too. But one of my favorite things is, this was '61 when they started shooting the rockets off and test rockets,
space,
and astronauts, So and they had styrofoam coffee cups. That was pretty cool. Styrofoam wasn't that old back then. So we would make, these incredible rocket ships out of styrofoam, and there's a little launching pad by a base of a palm tree or something because, set everything up and then, run behind the palm tree, do our countdown, come around, and the rocket ship had obviously landed over here, and Elvis would say, man, that thing went so high up, he just moved it,
right.
But he would make fun with us, he'd play with us in that regard. And those kind of things went on all the time,
But nobody on the set was really particularly egotistical. In other words, where everyone stayed away and everyone was very approachable. Being 8 years old, we really didn't understand the concept of fame. And so to us, like Gavin said earlier, Elvis was just like another person on the set. Right. And we were very impressed with one of the grips. He was obviously very well built because he moved heavy stuff, and we called him Strongman. And so we were really impressed with him because of his body type, big muscles and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, carrying the big Leco lights, massive big things.
Moving all this stuff around, and they had to move all the stuff. So there was a lot of downtime. Nowadays they shoot often, of course, with multiple cameras, but they shot with one camera. So it took a while to reposition the camera, get the lighting done and everything, and then we come back and they shoot the next scene from same scene from a different angle to get the opposite side, for example. So all that just took a while to shoot the scenes. So there was, actors and stuff would be playing cards or reading a book or just chatting. Very relaxed atmosphere. And back when we weren't shooting, we were at Port Paradise. On the days that we weren't at the set, and so we just hang out there and go swimming, and we go crabbing and find some crabs and sell them to the restaurant for 10 cents a piece. I remember.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, we would do things like that and just have fun there. The crew every evening ate in the same restaurant the crew and the actors all ate. And it's not there anymore, but there was a restaurant that had views of the bay, and everyone would have dinner there. I remember there's a xylophone player there who used to play like soft jazz, and we thought that was so cool.
Right.
In fact, one night, my mom wanted an adult evening, so she kept us in our room, said, just stay here. I'm going to be in the restaurant. You need me, come and get me. Otherwise, don't come, right?
Okay.
So she was going to have the cocktails or whatever. And thunderstorms came up, and it scared us so silly that we were in our PJs, those, the kind of PJs that had shoes, sort of feet and the whole thing. And we ran like the dickens from our room into the restaurant, streaking in there, just freaking out because the storm, of course, ruining my mom's evening with being at the restaurant. So, and she was very nice about it.
So was Elvis in that setting, or was Elvis kind of on his own?
Yeah. On Port Paradise, they had what they call these bungalows, which were two sort of suites back to back. One half one and one half the other, and ours was with the director, and then another one right next to ours was Elvis and him. They each had their own suite next that were sort of shared wall, and there was a bunch of these and for actors, and then everyone else is sort of normal motel rooms where they had room outdoors covered. And during the summer is warm, so most people kept their doors open. So you'd walk down the hallway and all the doors are open, and people were going from room to room, having beers and chatting and playing cards or whatever they're doing. It's a very social environment. In fact, I probably say it now, but we were so pestering. We would pester one group that they were playing cards. That one of the guys, I forget what his role was, but he leaned over, pulled out a 6-pack, and said, "Kids, take the 6-pack and go sell we didn't drink beer, of course, it's terrible stuff back then." And he said, "Go sell the beers down there. People will buy them from you and get some money." So he sent us out of his room, get us out. And we did. We went down and sold the beer. I forget what we got for a quarter of beer or something. And we were really thrilled to make some money.
Mom was so pissed.
Oh, Mom was very angry. They didn't want it. But yeah, it was that kind of relaxed atmosphere. It was just a different time.
So
I mean, the motel, the resort where we were, it was right next to a waterway. So there was Elvis had his boat there. People would bring boats, go fishing. There's docks there, all kinds of stuff.
All right. So not only did you get to film, you got to sort of vacation with Elvis in a sense.
Yeah.
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 Because I was going to ask you how much you saw him after the scenes, but it looks like you guys did have an opportunity.
We didn't really shoot much on the weekends, so everybody just hang out. They'd be they may be setting up for the shoot, but the primary crew and actors and everybody would just all hang around at the Port Paradise because we were just all captured on the reservations, they call it. They weren't going out, and they had security around to keep. There's nobody around. So it's up us, the family, the movie camp family.
He played football with his friends. He and on part there's some open grassy areas. People would do that. They do different things. I remember he showed us his car. He had this car
with the TV in it. Yes, I remember that.
In the back. When you stepped in the back, there's a TV set sitting there right there, black and white.
Never in '61, nobody had TVs.
That was like amazing, And he was showing us it, turned it on. I don't think there was much there wasn't much broadcast in that area. There wasn't much.
No.
But it was just the concept of it was just phenomenal. It just wow, this is amazing.
Yeah, he actually he had somebody bring the car from wherever he was, so he had his car in Florida. Correct.
Yeah.
Right. He had his car, boat. He had a boat brought up, so he had his boat there.
Because you said you were there for 5 weeks, so you're going to be there for a while. All right.
One of the things that I really want to mention is that prior to 2001, we really had no connection with the Elvis world or the movie or anything. I mean, until we were invited. and it really opened our eyes, because we really learned to really appreciate and respect the amount of fans that Elvis has, and how strong his legacy is. That it's when people talk about him, it's like he's still here. That's how strong, and it's quite amazing, and the people we've run across are some of the nicest people. I mean, I was just, people think, oh yeah, Elvis people are they're tweet. These guys gone. They don't get it, and that's people don't understand that his message and who he was transcends all of that. And we've really had a wonderful time talking with a lot of different people on different events and stuff, and just a very positive thing. I'm just amazed.
Yeah, Graceland has been very, very welcoming to us. I mean, they're very, very kind. And one of the things, we've talked to the historian, who I forget her name off the top of my head, who works down there, and Elvis. Yeah, and she said that Elvis never threw anything away. They have receipts for burger, whatever. He got everything from, never threw anything away. So. And she was questioning us on some of the few stuff that they had, but I didn't realize that he was really a pack rat.
Yeah, I don't know if it was him or his dad, but it kind of worked out that he did, right? So, but
we during the filming of the courthouse scene in that judge's chamber where it was air conditioned, we actually met Elvis's parents. They had come down to visit him.
His stepmother, right? Stepmother. At that time.
We were introduced as these are his parents, so we thought it was his actual mother, and of course we subsequently found out it was his stepmother. But they were very nice. We got to talk to both of them, and they of course love talking to kids, and so kids are squirmy, but they kept talking to us, and so.
Well, I suspect that we were supposed to entertain them. I have a feeling we were later. I analyzed. They need somebody to occupy Vern's time, so they stuck us on them. That's how I look at it.
But they were really nice. She was asking.
They're very nice.
Everything. She's really sweet.
So after filming Follow That Dream, you had talked about earlier that you did some television. Did you do any movies?
No other movies. No.
No, I worked behind the scenes, but not. And primarily television, but behind the scenes.
So. Where did your life path take you? One of our guests are asking, if you'd like to share.
Sure, go ahead, Gavin.
Well, me, my original career path was going to be a classical musician, but it's incredibly difficult to do that. So, and there was feast and famine all the time. So I went into the same business my father was in, which is scenic art originally. He wound up being a production designer. But I doing artwork for motion picture and television. My eldest brother did it. He's passed away, unfortunately. And my youngest brother still does it for ABC. And so I went down that path and did that for 18 years, working at all studios, everywhere, doing artwork, television. And then it's all union environment and got involved with union politics. Wound up being in charge of the union for the scenic artists. And then worked for the international, because there's 4 basic unions for entertainment: actors, writers, directors, and everybody else, the IATSE. And that's the major union that covers everything on the craft, editors, camera, makeup, everything. And so I wound up working for the parent union for that for several years, and now I'm morphed into a different labor job right now. So I'm preparing to retire next couple of years, but I'll still be around for these type of events. But kind of what I do.
All right.
Still play the cello, by the way. More community orchestra stuff now, but not professionally. Do
you swing your hips like Elvis when you do the cello or not?
It's a little hard to do that with the cello.
Yeah, that would be a tough one. And what about you, Robin?
I went into more medicine, more science-based. I worked in pharmacy for 22 years, and I moved into pharmaceutical manufacturing, where we produce a lot of research products and clinical trial products for universities and drug companies, where they did oral dosage forms for new drugs and new entities. And so that was my specialty, what I did. And I just retired 2 years ago. So I do a little bit of consulting in that area still with some companies, but primarily mostly retired. So
nice. Great. Well, 2 different paths, but you're connected. Obviously, which one's older?
I'm 8 minutes older.
He convinced himself of that because he was told that. There's no proof of that. And he's lorded that over forever. Let's not go there.
You can't accept the truth. That's the problem. That's the truth. But no, I'm 8 minutes older. But Mom always said that one of us was better looking and the other one was brighter, but she could never remember which was which.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I know, that was Mom. She'd do stuff like that all the time. But she's also, when we were born, we were 2 months preemie. I'm very glad we're here. But when the first one was born, they didn't know we were twins. So then she had the second one. The doctor, oh my God, there's another one. She freaked out. My parents had no idea they were twins. So, which is common because the heartbeats run the same for twins. So you can't tell from a stethoscope. And they didn't have ultrasound back then. So
Gavin, you kind of snuck out there and gave your parents a extra surprise.
Well, in theory, it could have been Robin. We never know. They could have mixed this up at any time.
This could really happen for a debate for a while.
There's no perfect science on this, Robin. You can't prove that.
Well, the family lore says I kicked you in the chin and got out first. That's what they say.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know that.
Careful. I'll say a few things you'll regret.
I
know stories too.
So, did you see Elvis anytime after filming?
Unfortunately, no.
No. Okay.
No.
So then the last time you would have seen Elvis then was going back to do those original photo production shots in California?
The studio shots, right. That's correct.
That's correct.
So,
I don't recall him. Do you, Robin, being at the rap party? I don't remember him being
at the rap party, but that was before they wrapped the filming, but then they still had us come back to do the overdubbing and
overdubs. That was later, right?
Later. But he was at the rap party. He did not, when they did the premiere, when they showed the film, we were invited to it. He was not there. He was off doing another film. So he was not there.
And was that did they do a premiere in Florida or?
In Hollywood.
They did one. The one we went to was in Hollywood. I hear they did one in Florida as well.
Okay. So I really appreciate you sharing your time with us, because I look at it as, when people know, like you said, Elvis, you just thought he was a guy, right? Originally.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that gives you guys a great perspective of Elvis as a person compared to somebody that, you always know of, oh my God, it's Elvis, because you act differently. I mean, you're 8 years old, I understand, but do you follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Well, we didn't treat him any differently. Let's put it that way. 8 years old, you have, a different perspective. And in some ways, that's what our memories are from an 8-year-old perspective. But as far as we made a penny, that was a decent person who treated us nicely. That was a mean person, yeah. Mm-hmm. Robin's right. It was very simple. And he was just, equal with everybody. I mean, but as far as interacting with different people, he was great. He was like was one of the crew, but he was great. He was always very nice with us, and great manners, and I couldn't say anything better about him, in that regard.
Oh, very cool.
But the important question that I have for both of you guys, have you both been good boys?
Good boys? Yeah, actually.
Right? You have a question. Are we good boys?
No candy, please. No.
Always Elvis Fan Club is going to send you a case of chocolate bars now. Butterfingers.
No, that's all right. I donate them to a good cause somewhere. Is my.
It's sort of true. After that summer, we never ate Butterfingers again. We just like it had our fill because so many of them.
Right.
And I never had a taste for it after that. I just didn't. Just maybe it was too. We did so many and take after take after take. I mean, after a while, it's like, Pale dog or something. It's just too much.
Yeah, because the first thing I thought was, did they battle over who got the bigger piece when they were doing the thing? But after a while, it probably didn't matter, right?
I have a feeling just when the director did it, I was on the outside in the car. I was on the outside seat, and Robin's in the middle, and I think he just and that was it. That was just how it went. I don't think there was any conscious choice. Yeah.
Any kind of favoritism or anything there, right?
No.
Well, it's interesting because that very first scene where Gavin breaks the candy bar, where the very first line you hear from any actor in the film is Gavin when he says "pop."
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And then I say, I think the next line I say is, we've been good boys.
Mhm.
And that was me. It was next to him. So
when
The
the beginning
squeaky
scene,
high voices. Yes.
Yep.
the beginning scene where they're driving across the bridge and all that, did they just use some other actors in there, or did they actually have you guys in the car?
those were our stand-ins who
Stand-ins.
actually were in
When on the long shots, right?
those are long shots of the helicopter, and
Mhm.
we weren't there for that. They done that before we came down.
So you 8 years old and you had stand-ins.
Yep.
Amazing.
Yep.
So how often would you need a stand-in?
Well, they use stand-ins primarily when they're setting up for a shot. They need to get the lighting right,
Okay.
angle for the camera and the placement, and they don't want the actor sitting there sweating away in the hot sun. And also this, so they put the stand-in and set everything up, and then boop, boot them out of the way and do the scene.
All right. So they just have 2 other little boys that did that? Or?
Yeah, they're a little older than us. I remember Wendell, and I forget the other guy's name.
Wendell.
And they're a little older than us.
Yeah. Great stories. Well, gentlemen.
It was all I can say. Wrap up. It was a summer of fun for 2 kids at 8 years old. We just had a summer of fun and moved on with life. It was a great memories, great time.
And is it hard to believe that this summer is the 60th anniversary of that?
I know. Yeah. I'm how old?
Well,
too many years.
You guys are retiring, right? So
yeah. It's hard to believe it was that long ago, and it's still pretty fresh in my mind. It was a pretty significant event. Our first airplane ride down there in a jet plane, and we got to go first class. It was very cool,
Mm-hmm.
And I remember they had a TV in first class and would change stations every 20 miles or something because there's only limited ranges on TV. So it wasn't really. It's kind of silly to have a TV on a plane back then.
Mm-hmm.
But but it was fun. Everything was very first time for us. A lot of firsts.
We had to dress up. We had to wear little suits and everything because you dressed up
on the plane, right?
Yeah, a little different than today.
My parents were so scared we were going to throw up. They gave us Dramamine before we went. It did slow us down a bit though, but we didn't get sick. But we had a good time.
That scene that he did in the courthouse with you guys, and it was just a heartfelt speech. And I mean, what else can you say about that? He could act, and it's unfortunate. There was talk later on in his years he didn't appreciate acting as much, but I think the movie that he did with you guys, he would probably say is one of his, himself, he would say it was one that he probably enjoyed doing.
Well, I blame the Colonel for that because the Colonel controlled his career.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think he allowed him to step out of a certain box of movie making. I think he would have probably enjoyed having more in-depth and type of roles and stuff, but I think they had a formula and they didn't want to touch it.
Right.
And it's really unfortunate.
Yeah. Well, the good thing is, even though there's some on the cutting room floor, there's a whole hour and 46 minutes that you guys can go back and relive those memories. And we really appreciate you guys sharing them with us. We're absolutely grateful fans, and we're glad that you could communicate with us here this afternoon and evening. So I appreciate it again, Gavin, Robin. Great conversation. Thank you so much. I'm going to go and spend my weekend, and I'm going to go back and watch and see. I'm going to tell them.
Okay. Okay. Well, thanks for inviting us.
Gavin.
Thank you.
Thanks for inviting us. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay.